Hey, welcome back to the aerodynamics class. And today we will be seeing the flow over a circular cylinder real case, right? So I acknowledge John D. Anderson's fundamentals of aerodynamics, right? So let us start. So in the previous classes, we had a discussion. The discussion starts from the lifting flow, right? So first we have done something called non-lifting flow. Non-lifting flow over a circular cylinder. Right? And in the non-lifting flow over a circular cylinder, we know we have a uniform flow plus we have a doublet flow, and that in turn gives you the flow over a circular cylinder that we already know. But one discussion we have come across, right? Okay, we will come back to the lifting flow again. So in the lifting flow over a circular cylinder, I take the case of non-lifting flow over a circular cylinder. Plus the vortex flow, and that gives you an lifting flow over a circular cylinder, right? And we have a lift here. So when we consider this is the axis, and here this is the axis, right? So when you consider in the non-lifting flow, you have, say, if this is x-axis and y-axis, and this is x-axis and y-axis, the flow is symmetrical about x-axis and symmetrical about y-axis, and hence you have drag force is equal to 0. Similarly, lift force is equal to 0. So in the case of in the real case, it is not true. Any body which is subjected to a flow condition cannot have the drag is equal to 0 and lift is equal to 0, and hence we called this as a paradox, that is D'Alembert's paradox. Right? So in the case of lifting flow over a circular cylinder, we know that the flow is symmetrical about y-axis. So if you say the pressure distribution here and here is almost similar, and hence the drag is equal to 0. But when you compare the upper surface and the lower surface, it is not symmetrical, and hence there is a finite lift existing. So we made a statement that rotating cylinder in a fluid flow will produce lift, and that in turn called as Magnus effect. And nicely we have derived a formula: lift per unit span is equal to rho infinity, V infinity, and gamma, where gamma is the strength of the circulation. So then we call this as Kutta-Joske theorem, right? Kutta-Joske theorem. Then this is the overview of the so-called theoretical aerodynamics we know, but as an engineer, we need to think, right? What we need to think? We need to think that it is not always possible to have such a drag equal to 0 and lift is equal to 0 in the case of non-lifting flow, and lift is equal to finite value, and drag is equal to 0 in the case of lifting flow. So real case is entirely different. In the real case, if you see the real case, it varies with respect to the Reynolds number. Say for example, when there is a fluid flow, say I will take this case A, and I have a circular cylinder and there is a fluid flow. Right? And please note that the Reynolds number is very much small. This is the circular cylinder and the flow is in this direction. And say, let us assume that the Reynolds number is almost less than 4. Right? Very small Reynolds number. Right? So in this case, the streamlines are almost symmetrical and the flow is still attached. Right? So this kind of viscous flow is called Stokes flow. Right? And you see this Reynolds number at a low, this Reynolds number can be created at a very low very low velocity, right? Okay, so this is one case. Let us increase the Reynolds number one by one and we can see the difference. So the second case, we will increase the Reynolds number. Say, let us say the Reynolds number is almost 40 and it is greater than 4. So let us draw the circular cylinder. The aerodynamic student should be able to draw all these, right? Even the circular cylinder, airfoil. Hope you had the training of drawing all those things during the introduction to aerospace engineering, right? So you see, there is a possibility of the vortices which starts in this particular Reynolds number, right? So if the Reynolds number is around 40, the flow becomes separated on the back of the cylinder, right? And it forms in the upper surface as well as in the lower surface, right? So the vortices are stable vortices. Please read John T. Anderson. John T. Anderson has given some real pictures of such flows, right? Now, say in the case of we increase the Reynolds number. Say the Reynolds number is more than 40, right? So I consider this Reynolds number. Then what happens is this circular cylinder and there is a flow, the vortices starts shedding from the cylinder. So there will be a shedding frequency and the flow will be in the downstream, it may be in a irregular fashion, right? So say for example, in this case, the Reynolds number may be say, let us say around 150 or so. Now we are keep on increasing the Reynolds number and trying to see what is the real case when there is a fluid flow, right? So now let us go to further Reynolds number. Say the Reynolds number range is around 1000. I will write this Reynolds number range is around 10 power 3, and I can say that 10 power 3 and 10 power 5, 3 into 10 power 5i, right? So in this case, you can see the flow over the circular cylinder. It will be having a flow separation here and also here, and you will be having something like the irregular chaotic motion of the fluid. Now let us go to the another case. Say here, probably here, the location at which the fluid flow separates, it matters in all our cases. So in this case, the Reynolds number may be around, say, Reynolds number will be around 3 into 10 power 5 to 3 into 10 power 6 case. So in all the cases, what happens is, because of the shear nature, there is a separation of fluid. So the separation of fluid in turn creates the higher pressure difference, and the pressure difference leads to have the drag, right? So in the real case, the drag value exists, and we always go with the drag coefficient C, right? So the Reynolds number varies, the drag coefficient varies, even though if we have a same circular cylinder, right? So one can write the CD is equal to function of Reynolds number, right? For a circular cylinder, CD we can write is a function of Reynolds number, right? So now if we want to draw the cases of Reynolds number, this is actually a famous curve in our fluid dynamics as well as the aerodynamics subject, right? So this is CD, and this is a Reynolds number. So you know already Reynolds number is equal to rho infinity V infinity into D, or C is a characteristic length by mu infinity, which is coefficient of viscosity. So if you say usually the graph looks like this, and you know, at the critical Reynolds number you have a change in drag, and then again it is increased. Say for example, this can be around 10 power 6 Reynolds number, and here it may be 10 power 7 Reynolds number. Beyond that, still nobody knows. The research is still going on, and somewhere here it is 10 power 5, and like that you can have 10 power 4. So here maybe 10 power 3, and here 10 power 2, and here maybe 10, and here maybe 10 power 0, very small, and here maybe 10 power minus 1. So at very low Reynolds number, and ranging from say, let us call this as 10 power 0, that is almost 1, and here maybe 10 power 1, right? So like this, there is a variation of the coefficient of drag with respect to the Reynolds number, right? So if you see, there are various researchers, they have done this exercise and they have marked, but there is no perfect graph for this. It may change for the different geometries, and usually the graph lies like this. So somebody can say, if you are doing a circular cylinder case in the wind tunnel, your graph may look like this. Say, learned aerodynamist can understand. If somebody say at 10 power Reynolds number, what is the corresponding drag coefficient, right? So in the real case, it is not true that the drag becomes 0, right? And hence we need to know all these points, right? So you know very well this is because of the flow separation as well as the pressure difference. Now, in all our cases, we have the coefficient of pressure. So we have drawn the Cp is equal to 1 minus 4 sine square theta, right? So let us say this is Cp, and you know Cp is equal to P minus P infinity by Q infinity. And usually we draw Cp versus theta, and we mark 0 and here 1, and I write here minus 1, minus 2 and minus 3. So I will draw a line 0. So you know very well that Cp is equal to 1 minus 4 sine square theta in the ideal case, right? So one can draw the graph like this, right? So if it is an ideal case, please remember this W, right? So this is the ideal case. So it starts like here 0 degree, and somewhere here it is 60 degree, and somewhere here it is 120 degree, and here maybe 180 degree, and here it is 240 degree, and here it is 300 degree, and here it is 360 degree. And we know you can take the convention of circular cylinder and this theta, right? Now, in the case of say we would like to divide the flow regime into 3 based on the Reynolds number, right? So let us consider the Reynolds number. I will write like this at subcritical range. So I will say that the subcritical Reynolds number may be 1.86 into 10 power 5, and the supercritical may be 6.7 into 10 power 5. So you can ask a question, what happened in between? In between the transition Reynolds number, where we have a lot of issues we face, right? So this graph is for theoretical flow. Now, what will happen if the Reynolds number is so low? That is at a subcritical Reynolds number, right? So at a subcritical Reynolds number, one can imagine and one can draw that. So this will be the case, real case. So if you see the flow Cp varies, right? So this can be a subcritical case. Right. So what will happen in the supercritical case? Supercritical case may vary. Right. So I will write this as supercritical case. So a good researcher can understand the distribution of pressure by seeing the flow condition itself, right? So this is the coefficient of pressure with respect to the angle theta, right? So this is the information. So please note all these points, right? And please visit, please read John D. Anderson's Fundamental Aerodynamics, where Anderson has given some nice picture of the phenomenon which we have discussed, right? For these phenomenon, Anderson has given some nice picture. I want you to refer that, right? So with all this, I stop and I recommend you to read the historical note given in John D. Anderson. He has discussed nicely about Bernoulli, Euler, and his family, how he become so curious in mathematics and how it is transformed to the fluid dynamics, right? And the John D. Anderson has discussed about the Bernoulli's family, Jacob Bernoulli, Johann Bernoulli, and so on, right? So I want you to just have a look into the historical note, right? And how I will ask a question after you read that historical note in the next class. I want to know the Bernoulli's theorem, what we are discussing now in our modern fluid dynamics and aerodynamics. You should say which Bernoulli it is, whether it is Daniel Bernoulli or Johann Bernoulli or Nicholas Bernoulli or Jacob Bernoulli, right? Okay, I stop at this point. Thank you very much.